Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into a really energetic and thought-provoking set of insights. They come from a recent keynote speech by Gary Vee.
That's right.
We've got excerpts from his address to Newtown High School, and, well, he shares some incredibly unconventional wisdom, stuff about opportunity, social media, and what it really takes to make things happen today.
And a fascinating collection of ideas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really strips away some, common assumptions about success, challenges you to think differently.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission today, I think, is to pull out the most actionable and maybe surprising nuggets from this
Yeah.
talk. It's very direct, very passionate, help you cut through the noise.
Exactly. He's known for that raw honesty, right? Cutting through the usual advice.
Definitely.
And this material is no different. So if you're ready to maybe reevaluate what you think you know about navigating the modern landscape, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Okay, so one of the first things that immediately jumped out at me from these sources is, well, how much the social media landscape has apparently changed. It feels almost counterintuitive if you remember the early days.
Yeah.
He calls it a completely flipped game now.
Right. And what's fascinating there is his assertion that you don't have to have any followers to have a post go viral.
Really?
Yeah, he emphasizes that in like the last 12 months, the algorithms, especially on platforms like TikTok, have fundamentally shifted.
Okay.
So even a very first post, if it's good, can get, say, 10,000 views.
Yeah.
Totally irrespective of your follower count,
Wow.
which is a huge departure from how things worked even a few years ago.
Yeah.
Back then, building that audience was everything before your content got any traction.
Right. You got to build first.
Exactly. This is more like a democratization of reach, almost.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting, I think, for anyone looking to turn maybe just curiosity into actual opportunity. He highlights TikTok Shop, says it's a massive current opening, like almost a Wild West for entrepreneurs right now.
Yeah, he paints quite a picture.
He really does. Like, you can literally go to a dollar store, grab stuff you already have at home, or even, buy things from TJ Maxx for maybe $20 and turn around and sell them for $50 on TikTok Live. It sounds almost shockingly simple, doesn't it? A very direct way into this flipped game.
It does. And, well, this brings up a question, right? Why is this such a big arbitrage opportunity now?
Yeah. What's the catch? Or the key?
The key insight he provides is that anyone going live on TikTok Shop, even with like zero followers, zero followers, yeah, they'll immediately start to reach people. The platform itself is actually pushing their content out.
Ah.
And he specifically mentions items under $30 and things that are not easily found on Amazon. Those tend to over-index on TikTok Shop.
Over-index. What does that mean exactly for people listening?
Right, good question. It basically means they perform disproportionately well. They get way more visibility, more sales than similar items might on, say, Amazon or somewhere else.
Gotcha.
It points to this really unique sweet spot where unique, affordable things can find this surprisingly broad and engaged audience because the platform itself is actively promoting live shopping.
So, okay, what does this all mean for you listening? I guess it's about recognizing that the barrier to entry, getting into online commerce or content creation, it's dropped dramatically.
Absolutely.
It's not so much about who you know anymore or how big your existing audience is. It seems it's more about the quality, the originality, the relevance of your stuff, your content, your product.
Right. If you have something genuinely valuable or just interesting to say, the platform itself is now kind of helping you get seen, even helping you make sales.
Instead of making you build that huge following first.
Exactly. It shifts the focus, I think, from audience building more towards value creation.
Interesting. Okay, so beyond just the specific platforms like TikTok Shop, there's this huge recurring theme from his speech. It's this relentless emphasis on being about it, not just talking about it. It's a real call to action.
It really is. And if we connect that to the bigger picture, he basically believes people talk too much about what they're going to do, and they're simply not doing it. He uses pretty strong language, urges people to kind of quiet the chatter and just, start doing instead of talking.
Just get started.
Yeah. And this leads into his whole view of social media itself.
Yeah.
It can be used to just waste your day, right? Endless scrolling.
We've all been there.
Or, he says, it can be harnessed as the biggest weapon in the world if you use it for good. for creation, for building something.
And he puts that in perspective, doesn't he, with the phone comparison?
Oh, yeah. That's powerful. The phone in your hand, he says, is a more powerful computer than Ronald Reagan had in the White House. That really puts the immense, often untapped power you're holding right in your pocket into perspective, doesn't it?
It really does. And he also has a very strong take on dealing with negativity, with adversity.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
He urges you not to buy into the negative, to actively choose optimism. He even suggests that facing adversity can actually be your greatest strength. Says everything you hear that tells you that you can't is simply false. Now, for a lot of people, that might sound a bit idealistic. How does he bridge that gap between that strong sentiment and the very real struggles people face? Is it just about thinking positive?
That's a really good question. And no, it's not just about like positive affirmations. He gets into his personal coping mechanisms for what he calls burnout or just, general life struggles.
Okay.
First, he advises against worrying about what anybody else in the room thinks of him, just stripping away that need for external validation.
Easier said than done, maybe.
Oh, for sure. But his personal strategy involves this, radical recalibration of perspective. He plays a mental trick sometimes, where he imagines he's the only person that lives on Earth.
Okay.
Which helps him see his problems in isolation and often kind of diminishes their perceived size.
Yeah.
But maybe most importantly, he champions profound gratitude, deep gratitude. He reflects on organizations like Charity Water, the nonprofit building wells in Africa, and he highlights that 800 million people on Earth can't drink a glass of clean water within 24 hours.
Puts things in perspective.
Massively. That kind of macro-level gratitude is his tool. It puts his own struggles, even huge business challenges, into stark perspective, makes them feel almost minor by comparison.
So it's all about realizing fundamentally that you are in control of everything, regardless of what's happening outside. That's a powerful mindset shift he's pushing for.
Yeah, moving away from maybe feeling like a victim towards feeling like you have ultimate agency. It's a real deep dive into resilience, actually.
Okay, building on that, this idea of recognizing opportunity and evolving landscapes.
Yeah.
Gary Vee also dives right into AI.
Oh, yeah. Got to talk about AI.
It's on everyone's mind, and his take is pretty much in line with his whole philosophy, right? Embrace what's new.
Absolutely. He calls AI massive, fundamentally transformative, but he cautions, don't treat it negatively or overly positive.
Balanced view.
Yeah, he frames it as just another one of humanity's inevitable technological leaps. And he uses these great parallels.
Like the electricity one.
Exactly. Reminds us that when electricity first came out, 80% of people were scared, thought it had demons inside of it.
Wow.
Apparently so. And similarly, the farm tractor, initially seen as this huge job killer.
Right.
But instead, it allowed humans to do bigger and more important things. So his big takeaway is, when new big technologies come, humans will always look at the negative. That is where the opportunity is.
Find the opportunity in the fear.
Precisely. He firmly believes AI will allow us to be better, bigger, do more things. Not replace us entirely, but augment our capabilities.
And this connects directly to his views on traditional education, which he doesn't hold back on critiquing.
No, he doesn't.
He specifically calls out schools for demonizing ChatGPT and says they should be teaching prompt engineering in class.
Okay, for people maybe less familiar with AI jargon, what exactly is prompt engineering and why is he pushing it so hard?
Right. So prompt engineering is basically the skill of writing effective instructions or prompts to get the best possible results from an AI model like ChatGPT.
Okay, so how to talk to the AI effectively?
Pretty much. It's about learning how to communicate with AI to maximize what it can do for you. Gary Vee argues that just like schools eventually brought in calculators, then search engines.
Despite resistance.
Right, despite initial resistance. They should embrace AI now. His point is these are real tools shaping the future. Students need to learn how to master them, not ignore or ban them.
And his core argument for education overall is just practicality. He says, pretty bluntly, that knowing about Saturn and Mars right now matters for 99% of us in this room. It does not.
That's provocative.
It is. It's designed to highlight what he sees as this disconnect between maybe some academic curricula and actual real-world skills needed today.
So he champions things like HVAC, plumbing, practical skills, sees them as direct paths to a good living.
Exactly. And on the flip side, he suggests Ivy League schools are practical if you can get in.
Why practical?
Mainly because of the networking, the leverage they provide. But for many people, Taking on huge debt for non-Ivy schools might be a bad move, he says, especially if a full scholarship somewhere else is an option.
Because the education itself isn't worth the debt load.
That's his argument. He says the education is negligible in comparison to the debt in many cases.
Okay, so his perspective is really pragmatic then. He's challenging that ingrained belief that a four-year degree is the only path, especially if it's not from a top-tier school.
Yeah, he's basically saying, look at the ROI, the return on investment.
Right.
If an Ivy League degree opens doors that lead to big career advantages, okay, great. But if you're racking up massive debt for a degree that doesn't immediately translate into a high-paying job or in-demand skills, then maybe a trade or that full ride at a less prestigious school is actually the smarter, more practical choice.
Valuing tangible outcomes over just perceived prestige.
Exactly.
So what's this mean for you listening? It's about being pragmatic, I guess. Recognizing the world is evolving and understanding the real value of different educational paths beyond just tradition or what looks good on paper.
Yeah, what truly prepares you for life, financially, professionally, in this rapidly changing landscape we're all in.
Right. Okay, shifting gears a bit. If all this talk about opportunity and doing things has you thinking about maybe taking that leap, starting something yourself, Gary Vee offers some incredibly direct advice for anyone starting literally from scratch. He kind of lays out a blueprint.
He really does. He states emphatically that his first step, if he had to start at zero, would be to make content on social media.
Why?
Because it's free, he says, and one piece of content could change my whole game. It's immediate, no cost involved. A way to just put yourself out there.
Okay, step one, content. What's next?
Then he pivots immediately to product quality. Says that's number one. Marketing is number two.
Quality first.
Absolutely. He's super direct here. Says something like, if your product is fundamentally flawed, all that marketing does is speed up the process of everyone finding out it's bad.
Huh. Okay. Blunt, but probably true.
Yeah. And he also warns that starting a business is just plain hard work. So you better actually like what you're doing, because that passion, that interest, is going to be your fuel.
That connects to his views on failure too, doesn't it? Which he sees as almost inevitable.
Oh, completely. He points out 95% of businesses fail. He doesn't sugarcoat it.
Nope.
He frames losing as just a crucial part of the game. Says, the more you lose early on, the more you learn the shit that fucked it up. His words?
Right. Learn from the mistakes.
And he even argues that losing now is a lot better than losing in your 40s and 50s. Basically, embrace failure early as this valuable, timely learning opportunity. Don't fear it.
Okay. And he expands on that idea of liking what you do.
Yeah, he goes pretty deep on that. He even says, procrastination is just an indication that you don't like it.
Ooh, interesting take on procrastination.
Isn't it? It's not just about finding your passion in some fluffy way. It's about the energy and the persistence that genuine interest unlocks.
So his advice for young people specifically
Is really pointed. He says take the highest risk in your youth, specifically between like 18 and 30.
high risk.
Yeah, around things you are genuinely interested in. Why? Because, he argues, being interested in it will give you the energy to get it done, to push through all those failures and setbacks that are bound to happen.
As opposed to maybe parents pushing kids into safer careers they hate.
Exactly. He sees that as a recipe for future unhappiness, lack of drive.
And he's kind of living proof of this philosophy, isn't he? His own story is a huge testament to this self-driven learning, seizing opportunity outside traditional path.
Absolutely. He's very open about being a really bad student in high school, ranked like 243 out of 257.
Oh, okay.
Went to a college he himself called crappy. But instead of focusing on schoolwork, he spent like 10 hours a day just reading about wine because he loved it.
10 hours a day.
Yeah. Then he saw the internet coming back in 95, 96, recognized its potential for commerce, and launched the first e-commerce wine business in America.
The first one.
According to him, yeah. Built a humongous company. It's not just an inspiring story. It's like the living example of his core ideas. Find what you love, embrace the new tech, and then just do the work.
That really brings it all together. Okay, so he wraps up with what I found to be a really powerful message about what success truly means and how to find it, especially as you get older. It's almost a redefinition of the goal.
Yeah, it really is. He argues that the only mark of success as you get older is just sheer happiness, simplicity, joy.
Not money, not fame.
Nope. He sees those as confusing and twisted metrics, things that often lead people down the wrong path. He stresses that even many older adults, 40s, 50s, 60s, are often still confused and twisted on how to win life, still chasing external validation instead of finding that internal contentment.
So it's a call to find your own definition of well-being.
Exactly. And importantly, he acknowledges there isn't just one way to get there, a one-size-fits-all solution for well-being.
Right.
He says, his perspective and that radical gratitude help him for other people. Therapy is exactly the answer.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's eating right and exercising or meditating or even just who you surround themselves with, friends and family. He's not prescribing his method. He's advocating for self-discovery.
So it really comes down to self-awareness.
That's the key takeaway, I think. You need to understand what truly works for you, for your happiness, simplicity, joy. He stresses over and over, nothing is one size fits all.
Which means you have to actively try things, be introspective.
Yeah. Commit to that journey of discovering what genuinely supports your happiness and joy, rather than just blindly adopting someone else's formula or chasing what society tells you success looks like.
Wow. This deep dive has, it's really given us a lot to think about, hasn't it? Kind of a wake-up call to reevaluate so many conventional ideas.
Definitely. Lots to chew on.
So if you take anything away from this deep dive today, maybe it's about shifting your mindset. The game has changed. Opportunities seem to be everywhere, especially online on social media. But it requires that radical action he talks about, a fierce embrace of adversity maybe, and crucially, a willingness to define success on your own terms, not someone else's.
Well said. And remember that point about technology, how humans often see the negative, the demons in new trends. But his core message is that is where the actual opportunity is. So maybe it invites you, the listener, to consider what new, maybe slightly scary technology or trend are you seeing right now, the thing others are fearful of?
Yeah.
And what hidden opportunities might actually lie within it if you choose that optimism, that action over the fear?
Food for thought, for sure. That's all for this deep dive. We hope this is giving you a bit of a shortcut to being well-informed and perhaps sparked a new idea or two for your own journey.
Hope so.
Until next time.